Amateur strategy relies entirely on brute force, working 80 hours a week, spending massive amounts of money, and trying to punch the biggest guy in the room directly in his thickest armor. True absolute power requires the asymmetric hack, the terrifyingly surgical realization that the bigger and more complex a system is, the more desperate and fragile its underlying dependencies become. The master executioner reveals that you never, ever attack the enemy where they are strong. You sociopathically scan their empire until you find the single, tiny, seemingly insignificant linchpin holding their operation together, and you apply maximum, unfair pressure exactly there. Amateur minds operate under the incredibly shallow, highly fragile, honorable combat illusion. When an amateur faces a superior opponent in business, debate, or competition, their instinct is to step into the ring. They want to prove they are just as smart, just as tough, and just as capable. They engage in a symmetric bidding war. They try to out-argue the opponent point by point. They fail to see the dark psychological reality. Honorable combat against a superior force is a mathematical suicide pact. If you fight Goliath on Goliath's terms, Goliath's mass will crush you 100 times out of 100. The core of the strategy is the structural linchpin. A master executioner explicitly studies systems architecture. They do not look at the giant's muscles, they look at the giant's tendons. Every strength creates a corresponding extreme vulnerability. If an opponent has massive corporate wealth as strength, they are incredibly slow to make decisions because of bureaucracy, the fatal flaw. If an opponent is highly aggressive and intimidating, a strength, they are deeply starved for validation and easily manipulated by flattery, the fatal flaw. The Grandmaster doesn't try to outspend the corporation or out-yell the aggressor. They exploit the specific, hidden weakness that powers the strength. This insight is the absolute master key to maximal efficiency scale. If you are constantly exhausted, matching your enemy blow for blow, and barely surviving sheer wars of attrition, you are operating as an amateur who is hitting the armor. The asymmetric hack dictates that true psychological dominance never proudly relies on sweat equity and suffering. True absolute power securely engineers an environment where they execute a single, microscopic, incredibly unfair lever pull that brings the entire fortress crashing down. The ultimate reveal. The most dangerous man in the room is not the one with the biggest hammer. It is the one with the scalpel who knows exactly which singular nerve controls the monster's heart. Thank you for listening to today's story. I hope something in it stayed with you, perhaps a new way of seeing the world, or a quiet confirmation of something you already felt deep down. You don't need to have all the answers tonight. Let go of any unfinished thoughts, be gentle with yourself, and allow yourself to truly rest. I will be here whenever you are ready for the next story. Sleep well, and take good care.